All right, so we'll see the revised GDP for Q1 2025 recently rebased to reflect an expanded economy. It shows real growth of 3.13% year on year, up from 2.27% in the first quarter of 2024. If you can put that up, and we see it's also with the total GDP valued at about 372 trillion naira. Services sector now contributes over 57% of the GDP, with the finance and insurance subsector alone accounting for 3.6% of the total GDP. The rebasing incorporated sectors previously undermeasured: fintech, digital economy, e-commerce, creative and informal activities, delivering a more accurate and diversified economic portrait there. Join me to unpack this now. We have Mr. Chika Nwosu, who's the Managing Director of PalmPay. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir. Good morning.
Oh, no, it's a long time.
Yeah,
good.
Quite a long time. You know, I've been trying to get you on for a while now, and finally you. I know you're a very busy man, but welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
So what do you think, we see now a lot of sectors now included in the rebased GDP. What do you think the inclusion of a larger, more detailed financial services sector, in the rebased data, what do you think is telling us about the maturity, of Nigeria's fintech ecosystem?
Okay. So, Ladi, you know that if you look at the contribution of the fintech, not just in the financial ecosystem, but in the whole overall economy of Nigeria, it cannot be overemphasized. So you can agree with me that the fintech has done quite well in Nigeria. One of the things fintech has done is to make accessibility of financial services very accessible, despite the status of the people, whether they are low-income earners, whether they are, doesn't matter their social status, it doesn't matter their economic status, it doesn't matter where they are, whether in the villages, whether in the cities, people have access to financial services, access to credit, access to savings, access to several other services. Even the health tech is also there, even the agri-tech is also there. So the fintech has contributed so much, and this has shown maturity of the fintech in the financial ecosystem. This has shown that the fintech operation in Nigeria has contributed so much, not just only in the financial ecosystem, also the economic development of the country. Thank you, Ladi.
All right, so I'm going to cast your mind back to when we had the Naira redesign. I believe that was the moment, for fintechs at this point. Do you think that was the real catalyst, that's pushed the fintech ecosystem this far?
I think the catalyst is not just the Naira design. If you remember, during coronavirus, the COVID-20, during 2020, when we had a coronavirus in the country, people were staying indoors, there was no movement. I think that was the catalyst. That was when people realized that you can do transfer, you can make payments, you can make your purchases. That was when people started seeing the importance of fintech, not just in the ecosystem, also in the economy. So that is just actually the catalyst. But there was also a larger impact during the Naira design, but the catalyst started in 2020 during the COVID-19.
Right, so I guess it's before the Naira redesign that we already started to see that movement there for the fintech ecosystem. But in what ways, is the rebased GDP data helping to, reshape perceptions, of fintech's role in Nigeria's economic development?
Yeah, I've said this many times, in the past, before now, there was a kind of a trust issues for fintechs in Nigeria. In fact, majority of the people see fintech the way they see Ponzi scheme, maybe pre-2020, maybe like 2018, 2017. But as time goes on, the trust begin to develop. People see the kind of services. A lot of products started coming into the market, the service product, the insurance product, the credit product. The fintech also started being very, very stable. The services, the quality of the services was also top-notch. For instance, there are some fintech like PalmPay where their transactional success rate is over 99.98%, and several other things started happening. And they started also moving into the rural communities where the conventional bank might not be able to reach. So they were able to reach to these people. You can bear with me as far back as maybe even as 2017. You see many people, Okada riders and bus drivers, barrow pushers, they don't have bank accounts. But as a result of fintech, these people have bank accounts today. They have access to financial service. They can access credit. So the trust has started growing. And now government also have also seen the importance of fintech in the financial ecosystem and also in the economy of the country. They have been also make these services affordable and also accessible to a common man. So I think the trust has grown and the importance of the fintech has also been felt within the economy. Thank you.
All right, so, with financial services now contributing more, visibly to the gross domestic product, what new responsibilities or expectations do you think, fall on fintech players now, in terms of, national development?
Yeah, as at 2023, our financial inclusion rate was about 64%. As at 2024, we get to 74%. So we still have a gap of about 26% of adult population of Nigeria that is still on bank. And this responsibility is all on the fintech to ensure that a majority of these people stays in the rural communities. So this responsibility, I can tell, is all on the fintechs to move into the rural communities and get more people into the financial services ecosystem. That is one part. And the second part is access to credit, the microcredit. Fintech also have to also come up to this and bridge the gap because there are some people, for instance, there are farmers in the rural communities who want credit to buy farm input, to pay for labor, to do so many things, even during harvesting of their product, but they don't have the money. Because of fintech is also make these services so accessible, very quick and very fast. So I feel that it's also a responsibility of the fintech to also come and bridge this gap, which some of them are already doing. So this is actually another responsibility for fintech in financial ecosystem.
Right. And, looking at, the contribution of financial services, to the GDP, growing, at this point, I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and he said that, why wouldn't financial services do well, since the traditional banks keep charging us for a lot of things, at this point. You just keep seeing debits here and there, and that's why they keep reporting bumper profits and all of that. Do you think the fintechs are saving us, at this point?
I can only speak for myself. For us, I think fintech is doing a lot. Most of the fintech services, even the transaction, something like transfer services, they do it free of charge for the people. So I think this is one of the ways they are making sure that there is not just that the financial services is accessible, it's also affordable. So there are so many products they are providing at a very, very considerable rate, or at sometimes at a free rate. So fintech is also bridging that gap as well.
But do you think the fintechs can maintain it, or at some point will also turn into the traditional banks?
I don't think they will turn like a traditional bank. Fintech is fintech, traditional bank is traditional bank. The modalities and the operations strategies are totally different. They are not the same.
All right, so let's pivot now. Do you think the next phase of fintech growth in Nigeria will be driven more by maybe lending, savings, wealth management, or insurance? Do you think that's going to come into
All of them, definitely, definitely, all of them. There are going to be a lot of service product, which is high interest yielding, credit that is also affordable, insurance, very important because majority of Nigerians have this kind of advanced insurance. So I think fintech is also going to drive that product into the market because many people don't know that with 1,000 naira you can even get a health insurance. People who cannot afford to go to hospital with health insurance, you can go to hospital. So this awareness is also coming on board. So fintech is driving this awareness. So I think all of them is also going to be part of what fintech will be doing in the next stage.
Right, and let me take you back to also the EMTL fee there on, I think, transfers over, I think about over 10,000. Do you think customers have gotten accustomed to it and they're just like, they're just okay with it at this point?
I didn't hear you. Come back again to that question,
The
sorry.
EMTL, electronic
Okay, okay,
money,
okay, okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Are customers okay with it now? Everybody's moved on.
Yeah, of course, this is a government policy, so there is nothing we can do. We have to follow the government regulations, and I think customers are okay with it. They're not complaining about it again.
All right. No, they're not complaining anymore. All right. I guess
No,
that's
no,
good
no.
for business at this point.
Yeah,
But how
yeah.
can fintech platforms, deepen their relevance, across broader financial services, that value chain, without overlapping too heavily, with the banks? Because there's been that conversation about some kind of competition between the traditional
Mm.
banks and fintech. What they say is a collaboration.
Yeah, I think for me, the fintechs and banks, their operations are most of the time is complementary rather than competitive. Because if you look at the banking operation and you look at the fintech operation, they are totally different. Let me give you, for instance, it is very easy for PalmPay to move into my village in Owerezukal in Anambra State. But it is difficult for a traditional bank to go there. So what fintech is doing is that some of those services that will be very difficult for traditional banks to, you know, give to the people, the fintech is bridging the gap to make sure that those services are being provided for the people. If you go to many villages in so many rural communities, you see a lot of fintechs. You see a lot of their agents in those rural areas, providing payment services, opening accounts for the users, taking savings, and so many other services for them. So they use their agents to reach, fintech use their agents to reach to this type of users. But it is difficult for bank. Before a bank can put a mortar and bricks office in any village, first of all, they have to do a feasibility study. And when you do a feasibility study, renting a bank, putting all the infrastructure and the rest of them, you can see it's not profitable. So they won't do that. So I think banks and fintech, to me, majority of the, in fact, 95% of the time, they are not competing, they are complementary. So, and I feel that it's also better that way for them to continue to collaborate and also to make financial services accessible to all Nigerians. And with that, we can also, improve the financial inclusion, which is, I know that is the priority of the government of Nigeria at the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that now. But we're going to interrupt our viewers with on DSTV now. We're joining a live coverage of the Diaspora Bridge, a live coverage of that event that's stemming the gap for a better Nigeria. That's for our DSTV subscribers, but you can continue watching Business Morning on all our other platforms at this time. Thank you so much for staying on, Mr. Chika Nwosu, the Managing Director at PalmPay. And we've been having an interesting conversation here about the fintech industry and seeing contribution to our first quarter 2025 gross domestic product growth there. So, at this point, we're seeing fintechs now, included when it comes to financial services. We're seeing your contributions now more apparent with the Q1 GDP. That's the rebased data. But which financial products or services do you believe remain, significantly underserved, despite fintech expansion in the country?
Yeah, you look at the credit and the insurance is actually underserved. But the major reason for this is because of a regulation. Some fintech have the capacity, they have the resources to provide some products, but you cannot provide a product that is outside your permissibilities because every license, like we have what we call the mobile money operation license, we have our area of permissibilities. You can't go beyond that area. If you go beyond that area, that means you have breached the compliance, you have gone against the regulation. So this is actually one of the limitations majority of the fintech is having in Nigeria. They have the capacity, they have the resources, they have the products to give to the people, but because of regulation, you cannot do that. So these are the challenges. So one of the underserved product is credits and insurance. So thank you.
All right, so there's another issue I've also noticed now, with financial services sector and some customers that have accounts with, some of the banks and the fintechs. It's about data now. You know, we have BVN, we also have
Yeah.
NIN, and you know, sometimes for some reason, when they're collecting your data for either BVN or NIN, sometimes they just make a mistake with your name and all of that. And you see that some people, maybe the name on the BVN doesn't match the name on the
Yeah.
NIN.
Yeah,
How are you
exactly.
able to manage this? You know, with customers that have this issue, because I see the alert there. It says your NIN
Yeah.
and BVN does not match. You know, how do you manage this?
Honestly, it's a very difficult situation. But what we have done is that, and I think from also from the side of NIMSI, what happened is that I think they have started there are some adjustments in the portal of NIMSI to make some corrections on your NIMSI, on your NIN, and because of that, when such a problem happens, because you cannot onboard a customer into the platform that has where there is a contrast in the name or even in the phone number or whatever it is. Because if you do that, and then when the CBN comes for inspection and they notice that, that means you are breaking a compliance. Because fraudsters also can use that. So most of the time, you must send them back to go back and to the Nigeria Identity Management Commission and make the correction. When they make the correction, they bring it back, then you can onboard them.
Right.
There is nothing any institution can do if those things are not corrected. You cannot onboard people who have disparities in their names into the platform. It's very difficult.
Yes, and you know, it's quite funny because I've seen, you know, a traditional bank accept money into that account that they knew that the NIN and BVN they match, but money could enter the account. But when you're not trying to transact, they tell you you can't debit the account because of the mismatch in name. So why receive in the first place?
Yeah, for a fintech, it doesn't happen like that because if you upload your name, then when it goes to the system and it doesn't match, it will go back to you and say that this cannot match. Then they cannot onboard you until you make the correction. So the system is already configured to dictate mismatch names.
All right, so what are you seeing in the second half for fintech? What can we expect, you know, for the fintech ecosystem in this second half and beyond?
Yeah, it's a deepening financial inclusion in Nigeria. So most of the fintech will also move to the rural areas. There's also going to be a lot of awareness in financial literacy program, and also going to be more products that will appeal to the people who live in the rural areas. So this is what we'll be expecting in the second half of the year from most of the fintech.
All right, thank you so much. It was great having this conversation with you. That's Mr. Chika Nwosu. He's the managing director at PalmPay. They're one of the leading fintechs in Nigeria. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll find out what to expect. That's the global economy this week. What's going to drive sentiment? You find out now. Just stay with us.